I am 82 years old. If you stood outside the iron gates of my estate right now, pressing your face against the cold metal bars, you would think I have won the game of life. You would see the four-story colonial house that stands like a fortress against the world. You would see the manicured lawns, green and perfect like a velvet carpet that no one is allowed to walk on. You would see the garage that houses 3 vintage cars covered in dust sheets, machines that cost more than most families earn in a lifetime. By every metric of the modern world, I am a titan. I am a success story. I am the man you are trying to become. But I am here to tell you, with the shaking voice of a man who has reached the end of the road, that it is all a lie. I am the poorest man I know. I am sitting in my library. The ceiling is 20 feet high, lined with books I have never read. The air smells of expensive lemon polish and old regret. It is quiet here, not the peaceful quiet of a sanctuary, but the terrified quiet of a tomb. I have millions in the bank, but I cannot buy a phone call from my son. I have a wine cellar filled with 1,960 seconds vintage reds, but I have no one to raise a glass with. I have the best healthcare money can buy, but I cannot cure the ache in my chest that has nothing to do with my arteries and everything to do with my soul. I messed up. I messed up so badly. And the worst part is, I didn't even know I was making a mistake until the ink was dry and my life was already sold. Let me take you back. Let me take you back to the beginning, before the gray hair, before the arthritis, before the silence. It was the late 1,970 seconds. I was 30 years old, and I was starving. Not for food. I had food, but for significance. I grew up watching my father apologize for being poor. I watched him shrink under the gaze of landlords and debt collectors. I saw the shame in his eyes when he couldn't pay for my school trip. And I made a vow, a dark, iron-clad vow whispered to my reflection in a cracked bathroom mirror. I will never be small. I will own the world. That vow became my religion. And like any fanatic, I sacrificed everything on its altar. I started my company in a garage that smelled of gasoline and damp cardboard. I didn't just work hard. I waged war on sleep. I left the house at 4:30 a.m. when the streetlights were still buzzing with that sickly yellow glow. My wife, Sarah, would still be asleep, her breathing soft and rhythmic. I would stand by the bed for a second, adjusting my tie, telling myself, I am doing this for her. I am doing this so she never has to worry. That was the first lie. I wasn't doing it for her. I was doing it to feed the hungry ghost inside me that screamed, more. By the mid-80 seconds, the business exploded. I was the man. I walked into boardrooms and the air changed. People stopped talking. That rush, that feeling of power was better than any drug. It was intoxicating, and it was blinding. I remember my son's 10th birthday. It was a Tuesday. I had a merger meeting in Chicago. It was critical. If I didn't go, the deal might slip. I called home from a payphone at O'Hare Airport, the noise of travelers rushing past me. Hey, buddy, I said, checking my Rolex. Dad's tied up. Big dragons to slay. But I got you the best gift. It's in the study. I had bought him a top-of-the-line computer. Expensive. Impressive. I thought the price tag of the gift compensated for the absence of the father. I didn't hear the quiet resignation in his voice when he said, It's okay, Dad. I didn't know then that memories are not built on things you give. They are built on the time you spend. A cheap plastic ball kicked around in the backyard is worth more than a computer given from 1,000 miles away. The years blurred. That is what happens when you chase money. Time accelerates. You stop noticing the seasons. You stop noticing the gray hairs on your wife's temples. You stop noticing that your children are growing out of their clothes and into strangers. I wore my busyness like a badge of honor. I'm slammed. I'm grinding. If I slept 4 hours, I bragged about it. If I missed a family vacation to handle a crisis at the factory, I felt like a martyr. I convinced myself my family should be grateful for my sacrifice. I remember the night it all started to crack. 1,992. I came home at 11 p.m. The house was dark. A plate of cold roast chicken sat on the counter, covered in plastic wrap. The fat had congealed. I sat there eating alone in the dim light of the kitchen. Sarah walked in. She was wearing her old blue robe. She didn't look angry. She looked tired, defeated. She said, "We don't know you anymore, John. You live here, but you don't live here. You're a ghost that pays the bills." I snapped. I slammed my fork down. The sound echoed like a gunshot. "How dare you?" I shouted. "Do you like this house? Do you like the private schools? Who pays for that? I am out there killing myself for this family." I threw my wallet on the table. It slid across the wood and hit the fruit bowl. "Take it. That's what you want, right?" She looked at me with eyes so sad I can still see them today. She whispered, "No, John. I wanted a husband. The kids wanted a father. We didn't want a CEO." She went back to bed. I stayed in the kitchen and poured myself a scotch. I told myself she was ungrateful. I drank until I couldn't feel the guilt. I continued to climb. I made 10 million, 20, 50. I was on magazine covers. I gave speeches about efficiency. Young men looked at me with hungry eyes, asking for my secret. I told them, work while others sleep. Be ruthless. I was poisoning them, and they were cheering for it. Then came the crash. I was 58 when Sarah left. There were no screaming matches. I came home, and the closet was half empty. The silence in the house was different that day. It was vacant. A note on the pillow said, "I'm lonely, John. I've been lonely for 20 years. I can't do it anymore." I tried to fix it with a check. I offered diamonds. I offered Paris. She refused. She had realized that being alone in a small apartment was better than being alone in a mansion with a man who wasn't there. 6 months later, my heart gave out. It felt like an elephant sitting on my chest. I collapsed on the office carpet. The ambulance ride was a blur of sirens. And then I was in the hospital room. This is the moment I want you to visualize. I was lying in that sterile bed, hooked up to machines that beeped in a steady, rhythmic cadence. Beep, beep, beep. The sound of mortality counting down. It was 2 a.m. I picked up my phone. I had over 400 contacts. Business partners, lawyers, golf buddies. I scrolled through the names. Who could I call? Who could I call at 2 a.m. and say, "I'm scared. Please come hold my hand"? My lawyer? He would charge me for the hour. My drinking buddies? They only liked the version of me that bought the rounds. I called my son, voicemail. "This is Michael, leave a message." I called my daughter. She answered, but her voice was stiff, formal. "Is everything okay, Dad?" Not "I'm coming," but "Is everything okay?" Like she was talking to a distant uncle. I lay there, surrounded by the best medical technology money could buy, and realized I was completely, utterly alone. The millions couldn't buy me a glass of water from a hand that loved me. The awards on the wall couldn't comfort me. I cried. Hot, shameful tears ran into my ears. I wasn't crying from pain. I was crying because I was bankrupt, emotionally bankrupt. I had traded my life for a pile of paper, and facing the void, that paper was worthless. I survived the heart attack, but the arrogance didn't. It was burned away by the fear of dying alone. I went back to my empty house, and I saw it for what it was. It wasn't a trophy. It was a mausoleum. I have spent the last 20 years trying to buy back what I sold. But here is the cruel truth. You cannot buy back time. I have 3 hard lessons for you. I need you to burn these into your brain so you don't end up in this chair, staring at the dust motes, wishing for a do-over. Lesson 1. Money is gas, not the destination. I thought money was the goal. I thought if I reached the mountaintop, the view would satisfy me. But money is just gasoline. It makes the car go, but it doesn't tell you where to drive. If you drive a Ferrari off a cliff, you are still dead. And do not sacrifice your health for wealth. I treated my body like a rental car. I skipped meals. I slept 4 hours. I lived on stress. Now, I would pay every cent I have to be able to walk up a flight of stairs without gasping. Your body is the only house you have to live in forever. Treat it better than your business. Lesson 2. The someday trap is a lie. I always said, someday I will slow down. Someday I will take Sarah to Italy. Someday I will build that treehouse. Someday is a dangerous word. It is code for never. I remember promising my daughter the treehouse. Next summer, I said, when things calm down. Things never calm down. Next summer became the summer after, and then she was 16 and didn't want a treehouse anymore. She wanted the car keys to get away from me. If you want to do something with someone you love, do it now. Cancel the meeting. The work will be there on Monday. The person might not be. Lesson 3. Enough is a decision, not an amount. This is the hardest one. I never decided what was enough. When I had 1 million, I wanted 5. When I had 5, I wanted 10. The goalpost kept moving. I was running a race with no finish line. You have to look at your life and define what enough looks like. If you have a roof over your head, food in the fridge, and people who laugh when you walk in the room, you are richer than I am. Step off the treadmill. Learn to say, I have enough. Now I will enjoy it. You won't sleep when you're dead. You'll just be dead. And your job opening will be posted before your obituary is printed. Let me tell you a secret about the end of life. When you are 82, you don't think about the deals you closed. You don't sit here smiling about the quarterly earnings of 1,994. You don't reminisce about the sleek design of your first Porsche. You think about the Sunday mornings in bed with your wife, listening to the rain. You think about the way your son's hand felt inside yours when he was a toddler, so small, so trusting. You think about the laughter at a barbecue where the food was cheap but the friendship was real. Those are the assets. Those are the true dividends of a life well lived. And I am bankrupt. I have a lot of money, but I have no wealth. Please, don't be like me. Don't let the shiny objects distract you from the real treasure. Go home today. Kiss your partner like you mean it. Put your phone in a drawer and play on the floor with your kids until your knees hurt. Call your mother. Build a life, not just a portfolio. I am tired now. The sun is setting outside my window, casting long shadows across the Persian rugs. It's beautiful, but it's fading. My sun is setting. Yours is still high in the sky. You still have time. You still have the chance to write a different ending. Don't chase the money. Chase the memories. Because in the end, memories are the only thing you get to keep. Goodbye.